Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. So much love comes in following Jesus, a lot of love. So, yeah, okay, light circle. Let's start with light. That feels really good. Infinite light of being. And ask Jesus what it is we need to see. And is there anything being protected? Like, I can see if there's like the tiniest little squeak spot in there where we're unwilling to look. We will suffer that. So we have to make all parts of our mind available. And then he's asking, yeah, and he's reminding me how when we work with them, it's so helpful because he'll bring us to the point of where we've got it backwards. Like consciousness is a backwards move. It's flipping. It has to make God the bad guy in order to perpetuate itself. Without there being, oh, it's a Jesus t-shirt. Without there being a God being the enemy, without a brother being an enemy, there's no survivor sense of personal identity. So it's really protecting that sense of enemy within. And that belief that if we hold on to a piece of personal identity, our salvation's in it. That's how the whole thing stays in play. You know, that little dream bubble. Into the dream bubble every time. The ring of fire on the outside. Oh, I'm afraid and God's going to get me. Without the God's going to get me, there's in the light, see that the light, there's no God going to get me because the light's just here already. God already's got you. God is here. So then there's the play in consciousness, the light being here always, not just to try to preserve the dream, the God, wanting to prove God is dead. So it's the desire to prove that God is dead. We're just going to change over to a more stable internet. There we go. Hopefully that will stabilize our connection with all of you. So all he's saying is when he's bringing us down to look at the desire of that wanting, one, to really let that energy of wanting release and without guilt. There's no guilt in the wanting. So the wanting goes up. If we're in guilt, we went too high. We dove too deep into the bubble. We're already in trying to manifest an experience. So he takes back to look underneath the desire, the keeping of desire for experience of separation from infinite light. And that somewhere under there, I've talked about this concept of secondary gain that they talk about, like how you could just look at all these different beliefs and collapse the belief, because beliefs are changing. They're part of the changing. The light doesn't have any beliefs, and so beliefs can be wiped off the board. But if there's something under it where that belief is felt to be beneficial, it hangs out there. And so the way that consciousness makes beliefs beneficial is it makes them, and desires, it makes them the belief that salvation goes toward perception, that salvation can be found through perception. So until we look directly to see that salvation can never be found through perception, and he shows us where the flip is. Oh no, I'm confused. I've been trying to dive deeper into the dream to find salvation and hide from the light and make the light out there the bad guy. And so he uses brilliantly our brother as the bad guy coming to get us, or the bad guy who has more than we do, or then I'm superior. It just, you'll see it goes back and forth. I'm superior at this, I'm inferior at that, just to keep that dream bubble. So he's bursting our dream bubble through the brother. But without that direct looking, see, not following the Holy Spirit is what is, we don't want to look to see that the light's here right now. That's all it is. But because we side with weakness and go deeper into the dream bubble, then there's guilt and there's fear. So we feel like salvation is not in following our function with the Holy Spirit. So it's a deeper dive. And then because we dove in and we're looking for salvation in all the wrong places, we have guilt and kerfuffling and all these other things, rather than saying no and in being in faith. He's really teaching us faith. We're watching this really beautiful movie. If we can get the subtitles to play for the second half of it, they just stopped. All of a sudden the subtitles just evaporated. But it's it was 1958, an Ingrid Bergman film called The Inn of Sixth Happiness. It has some great stuff in there, because she knew that her calling was to go to China, that God was calling her to have a function in China. And she wasn't letting anything stop in her. It's really beautiful. You can see like the Holy Spirit breadcrumbs and how she just would follow. And it was her attitudes basically, if my spirituality, she wanted to be a missionary, if that doesn't out trump everything. So at first she was like a foreigner. See, we're a foreigner to our divine light. We've made ourselves homeless to divine light. But through the form, we stand into saying no to the ego, and she would like continually be in service to the whole. What serves the whole? So it got to the point in China, they gave her a new name, a Chinese name. She became a Chinese citizen, and she walked in, there was a prison riot in a prison. She just walked in and they just stopped. She really was very much about joining. If you watch how she would join with everyone, she just joined with them right where they were. It was really, I mean, so many good scenes where she would just join. She didn't know what she was doing or what she was going to say. And the local, I don't know what you would call him, local ruler, thought, oh, here's this missionary, and she really needed money for her missionary. So said, okay, I'm going to give you a job. And he's thinking, well, you know, about 3 or 4 men had the tar beaten out of them with this job. So the job was to go and tell the villages that they were no longer able to, by law, bind the feet of the women children. And so already 3 or 4 men had the tar beaten out of them trying to do, because that was like a very precious custom. And yet she went in and was able to, just by being presence, really following the Holy Spirit, being used by the Spirit, by love, for love. So much to the surprise of the local, I don't know what you would call him, but, you know, like local governor. They're a little more of a dictator than a governor, but, you know, it got to the point where the bandits in the area loved her. She's hilarious. Now, this is really seeing past the error. She went and she was going through town, and they stopped her and wanted her to come help give medicine to one of the bandits. And she's having a talk with the leader in town. I'm not giving them any medicine unless you guys don't go out and rob and kill for for a month, you know. She's just telling the leader, she was like, so fear, I'm not doing. It really is how it is with accepting divine power. You just say no. You just say no. So we're going to ask Jesus. So we're really learning to say no to the ego. You know, I was reminded of a post in Monty Sahaja, and I think I've spoken before, and written on one of the posts, and we actually have it as one of the precepts here because it was so helpful. And it says, live as though you have no rights. And when I first saw that, you know, you're just going, well, what do you mean? You know, I used to be like so into that. The play was to be into the rights. I'm an American, I'm right. And, you know, my rights are being taken away. But then when you look at that and you really get that you sit by the right of the Father, by the right hand of the Father, that's the only right you need. See, you don't need rights. And when you see that having no rights is supreme happiness, because if you are entitled to something other than supreme happiness, you're going to be miserable. Because having rights means that it's going to place something in the future. There's something you can even feel it. Ask Jesus, is having rights, the concept of having rights, which is a limitation, is that a limitation? You can ask them. So if I believe I have rights, is that a limitation? See, it's a belief. See that the light doesn't have any limitations and it doesn't have any rights, because it's everything. So it doesn't, having rights is meaning that something has to be protected. Someone has to be protected. It's a bill of rights to protect my right to what? My right to freedom. No, you're already free. How could you need rights? And then when I saw it with a whole new eyes, it's like, wait a minute. And I'm so grateful to be reminded of that. Like, to really look again at any smidgen that's here having to do with having a right to something. And you'll see that thinking that we have a right is going to put the ego in play right immediately. Now, there's that play, it's a little play in this movie where, you know, what's righteous, you know, I'm going to tell them what's righteous. I'm going to tell them what they're doing is wrong. But overall, it's for the whole. Overall, it's service to love, which is infinite. The choice to serve the whole has no rights. And Muji was such a great reflection in the mind of being so given over. Because not having rights. And you see that when the Spirit fully uses you, you'll see that you'll suffer immediately if you think you have rights. It's immediate suffering, guaranteed. You can ask Jesus about it. So just a great movie. Like if we can get through it, get some good working subtitles, but a great look at, is there any place that I think I have rights? Because you have to have a right to something. If you're given everything, what would you need to have the right to something for? Now, the ego part of the argument is the name of the movie is The Inn of Sixth Happiness. It's Ingrid Bergman. And we can look for a trailer for it, maybe. Renee, if you could put that up. It's just beautiful. It's just really beautiful. If we have everything, what need do we have to feel like we're owed something? That's what really rights are, is feeling we're owed something. So it's always going to be a wanting. We'll always feel incomplete if we want rights. Oh my gosh, that's just the dead zone. It's a good reminder, such a good reminder. I'm so glad that topic came up, so I'm going to look at it again. There's always a wanting under rights. It's always a bereft. We'll always feel bereft when we feel like we need a right. It starts a fight immediately. It'll get that argument revved up for sure. So we come back to the teacher's manual. Really grateful to go through these again. It's been many years since I've read them. And we're going through how is healing accomplished. Let's see if we have a little time. Healing involves an understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. Healing is impossible without this. Okay, Jesus, so show me what help me with the understanding of what the illusion of sickness is for. To dive deeper in the dream bubble. It's a love affair with the dream bubble. Like we're having an affair with hell, actually. Like I'm asking Jesus about that. It's like all the arguments over the unfaithful husband or unfaithful wife or, who screwed me over. And we've just been so unfaithful to ourselves as divine beings. That's what consciousness is, not being faithful to wholeness. So I'm going to look at this brand spanking new Jesus. Like, I don't know anything about healing. Oh my God, that's happiness. let's just take it like from zero scratch. Like we've never seen the course before. Don't know what it is. I feel good. Like we don't know anything. We go with nada, like little, we'll start from like scratch. That's the best part, to start with the light, not knowing anything, and then let Jesus fill in the blanks. The perceived purpose of sickness. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is where he's going to show us what's upside down. This is helpful. Healing is accomplished the instant the sufferer no longer sees any value in pain. That is the gig. Ask Jesus. Jesus, will I be in pain only as long as I value it? Really, this is what needs to be seen. The value in pain. The value in pain more than God. So Jesus is showing us every time we go down with him on chapter 20 and we look, okay, let me look at this belief, this desire for this experience. He's showing us where there's value in it. See, we can have a miracle. We are a miracle. We're the miracle. We're beyond miracles in truth. Miracles aren't real even. But they're helpful, okay? They're helpful in consciousness, very helpful. So he's just bringing us to show us where we do not want a miracle. And we don't want a miracle wherever we're valuing pain. And personal identity is automatic pain. It's like, if personal identity is involved, pain is automatic. You can't separate the two. Who would choose suffering unless he thought it brought him something? That's what we need to see. If pain is persisting, we're putting value in it. It's the only way pain can persist, because there's a belief, there's value in it. It's like the secondary gain thing of NLP. There's something under there that believes it's of greater value than heaven, than being pain-free. In fact, yes, it's believing we have a right to keep pain. That's what we're arguing with Jesus over. The whole argument of the bubble of consciousness is that pain is of greater value than our identity. That's deep. Something of value to him. So he's showing us with chapter 20 where our value is. The reason he says you're not ready for a miracle is because there's a value in that desire. See, he's showing us where the energetic value is. And it's because we believe salvation is. That's why it's really helpful to ask him, is it cleared? Am I still valuing that somewhere? Because we can't see where we're valuing it. We need him to show us. If we saw where we value it, we would accept all the miracles and be supremely happy. So he's taking us down there. He must think it is a small price to pay for something of greater worth. For sickness is an election, a decision. It's helpful to be clear on that. See, the way the ego plays this, it goes, and I've played that, yeah. So, it's a tricky little thing. That's why we're really so good at deluding ourselves. That's why we need him with honesty of God. Am I willing to see what I denied because it's true? It is so slippery, tricky. It's slippery, tricky because it was made that way so we can stay deluded. So we have to ask Jesus, am I still valuing this, Jesus? Well, he'll let you know if you're not ready for a miracle. You can be sure you're still valuing it. And there's an energetic wanting down there, and just be with the wanting of it. So it dissipates in the infinite light of being. But all the suffering will persist as long as it's valued. There's no other way to it. There's no other way to keep the dream bubble going. So we have to go all the way with ourselves. All the way with Jesus. So he shows us all the places where we're valuing suffering. And the ego gets all catawonky about that, because it wants a pat on the head for being involved with the awakening. You can ask Jesus, am I doing a good job? That kind of thing. I'm doing, but it's part of the play. And as we're learning to do this deep looking, it feels that way. I remember, like you feel like you can't give anymore, quote unquote. Still the play. See, the light just gives everything. So it's not concerned with what's being given. We really need his help. Like the deeper we go, the more we see, oh, we just need his help. For fast awakening, I mean, we can certainly bumble around on our own. But after I think I was bumbling around for a good 50 years, it's kind of time to quit bumbling and start looking. Oh my God. Sickness is an election, a decision. Am I willing to see, Jesus, that sickness is a decision? That's what the ego doesn't want to see, that it's a decision to dive into the bubble. Am I willing to see that it's a decision? Well, we're kind of on a moment by moment basis willing to see it. Because we're all here, and so we've all looked. We just continue to look but in the play of consciousness, that comes and goes until all the energetic investment is cleared. But we need to see it in innocence. But without admitting it fully, this is my decision. See, the ego will say, well, I've done everything now. The ego is going to do the best job it can, covering over so that we don't see it's our decision to be miserable. It'll be about a person. It'll be about a place. It'll be about a thing. It'll be a circumstance. It will be what happened to me in my past. It'll be a past life regression that was unsuccessful, however it is. The only way the buck stops is I am deciding to be unhappy right now. And just admitting it. Jesus, I am deciding right now, and I really want it, and I really like it. And I really value it, and I value it more than God. It's so helpful when you get down there and just see all that relishing. It's very humbling. It is the choice of weakness in the mistaken conviction that it is strength. See, the ego will even be mad that it's not having miracles. Like, where's my miracle? It doesn't work that way. Miracles are always available if they're not being experienced because they're not wanted. That's why the light circles are so powerful, because then we can't weasel out of taking the responsibility for honesty of God and admitting where we don't want a miracle. I do not want a miracle on this. Okay, then it's okay. Just say, I don't want a miracle at all. Not one, not with a wedge. I don't want it with an ice cream cone. I don't want it at all. But at least we're looking at it head on. But then we get mad at Jesus. Jesus, you're not giving me miracles. No, he's just showing us where we don't want them. And then we're mad at ourselves. Where are my miracles? I'm not getting enough of them. I played that game too. We all was a little back eddy, but it still doesn't change the light. Even if we don't want miracles, the light's still here, just waiting. Always been here, always will. It is the choice of weakness and the mistaken conviction that it is strength. See, that's the flip, the upside down. It's good to ask him when you have a twitch, Jesus, do I think there's strength in this? And that's why we laugh about it. When we're looking and you're going down and you see the little devil, boy, I like this. I feel the strength in it. I really want to usurp the power of God with this little thing. It's helpful, like, especially when you're in pain for something. We're in pain for everything, but some pains are more obvious than others. So you can work with those with Jesus and just go down and just notice the pain and go try to see if he'll show you, or you're ready. He'll show you how you're relishing it more than God. Like, just go with it. Like, just look at it closely with him. He's standing next to you. He loves you. And say, okay, Jesus, give it to me. Show me how I am relishing this more than God. And just watch It's figuratively speaking, but you can see it. You'll just go with them and you'll see the two little devil's horns. You just have that experience. You just see it down there. They pop out. And you go, oh, I do. You can see the little smirk down there. Little smirk like, I really do like this. It's helpful to see that. Who talks about that? No, everybody says, go take a pill. You'll feel better. No, you won't, because it's magic. And he's given us the direct way out. See how it's a desired experience, and you'll the energy that comes in from that, it's so helpful. One, you'll see that you can hear him in every circumstance. As I've said, I have that video. Anybody, you can watch it, where it was like the most splitting headache ever. And if we're determined, it doesn't matter what we can be flat on our backs, ready to throw up. I have one where I was throwing up, not during the video. It's like at some point, that's what's helpful. It's the turn. The turn is saying no to all that nonsense. Now, who in this world says that's nonsense besides Jesus? Jesus says it's nonsense. But until we have the direct experience of God, there's some relishing. I really love this. Pain becomes part of our identity and illness. And then it's such a direct way to look. Because when it's seen through, then you're not like, there's just the whole threat of the world starts falling away. Because notice how the ego holds pain in the body like some kind of big club over it. Over our heads, or holding a big club over our heads. So you can ask him, Jesus, do I desire an experience where I feel like sickness is strength? And real strength is seen as a threat, like the light is seen as a threat. And being healed is a threat. Health as danger. And just go with them. Honesty of God. Jesus, do I see health as danger? That is a great thing to see. Like, celebrate it if you see it with them. When you see it, because you will. You truly want to see it. You'll see exactly what he's saying here. I'm checking in, see if there's any remnants. Jesus, are there any little scraps in there of being healthy is dangerous? I'm willing to see it. Then if you see it with them, you can just ask for a miracle. Sickness is a method conceived in madness for placing God's Son on his Father's throne. Whoa. Let's just ask him, Jesus, do I desire an experience of placing myself on my Father's throne through sickness? If he says yes, then rejoice. If you really hear his voice, go, yes, you are. Because then you can go right with him and work. But it's when we say, oh, no, I'm not doing that. That's the plain consciousness not to admit it. So if he starts showing you that you'll be rejoicing. You'll just get happier and happier when he shows you these things. You'll see directly that that's the way out of the illusion. God is seen as outside, fierce and powerful, eager to keep all power for himself. Only by his death can he be conquered by his Son. So we got to kill God out, kill the light out of awareness. You can ask him, Jesus, am I using any physical symptoms to kill the light out of my awareness? Okay, give it to me. Okay, can you show me which ones they are? Can I ask for a miracle? Jesus, is it necessary for me to have any physical symptoms whatsoever? They only appear because we value them. He never changes on that when I ask him. And what in this insane conviction does healing stand for? It symbolizes the defeat of God's Son and the triumph of his Father over him. Jesus, do I relish an experience that my Father would triumph over me? Just ask for miracles. Desire the experience as though the Father's going to triumph. I always hated that word surrender, just really, because it's the concept of surrender being vanquished, but it's a desired experience that God is going to vanquish us. God is going to triumph over us. God is us. How can what is us triumph over us? It's that whole picture, that really love play in consciousness, the white flag play, where you have to send up the flag and surrender and be vanquished by the enemy, God being the enemy. I'm just talking to him about that's what pain is, being vanquished by God, the desire to feel vanquished by God. He said, yes. It represents the ultimate defiance in a direct form, which the Son of God is forced to recognize. It stands for all that he would hide from himself to protect his quote unquote life. If he is healed, he is responsible for his thoughts. I think I told that story, responsible for my thought. When I was up in Canada at the devotional center up in Canada from Living Miracles. And I just one day was like pounding my fists on the table going, I do not want to watch my thoughts. That's the ego does not want to do that. No, and no, and no. Does not want to be responsible for the thoughts. And it's not responsible in such a way that we're going to be punished for it. Just responsible in that we're a supreme being using thoughts to manufacture untrueness, an untrue experience. And we have to be responsible for seeing through that error. That's all. We don't have to be guilty. We're not guilty for anything. And if he is responsible for his thoughts, he will be killed to prove to him how weak and pitiful he is. Jesus is talking about a totally different type of responsibility. Ego is saying, you have these thoughts, they're all true, and you need to be killed for it. I need to die because of this. I deserve death. But if he chooses death himself, his weakness is his strength. Now he has given himself what God would give him and thus entirely usurp the throne of his creator. So you can ask him, Jesus, is pain a desire to usurp the throne of God? You can hear him, yep. But not to be guilty out of it, okay? There's no guilt. He's just saying, look with me to see the miscreation. That is it. God's not upset. Look at the light. Is infinite light just shaking in his boots? Is as much as consciousness plays? No, it's just here, just waiting for us to like wake up and quit playing in the death field. But we got to see how much pain is a desire to usurp the power of God. Like how much we really like that play. Consciousness likes it. I mean, no one doing anything. The shift in perception. I think it feels like we'll just stop there. And shift in perception. We'll try and see if we can go through with healing. We'll just see, we're playing it spontaneously. Technically doesn't mean anything. That our night light circles are going to be complete. A full year of light circles at night, tomorrow night, Monday night. But we'll see, he may want to continue talking about this teacher's manual for teachers. So Feels like yes. So maybe the night circles will continue to be live. We'll just let everybody know. We love joining with you. The day circles starting Tuesday will be pre-recorded. Will be pre-recorded. They won't be live, but we do encourage everyone to join if you feel the spark. So thank you for coming and joining us, and we send you love and hugs and gratitude for bringing your presence here with us. Oh, we love you, Margot. We're glad to have you here with us. Go for God.